Before we could get down to business with all the other things on the agenda, we had to speak with Councilman Tyrone about the proposed Buddhist temple. And when we talk about this Buddhist temple, what are some of the things that went to consideration while deciding, hey, should we really go forward with this?
Well, in terms of the legislation today, basically what we were asking, what the president of council was asking the member of the council to do was to weigh the charter, and the charter basically provide that at least should be 2 hearings on the subject matter, on the legislation, and instead of having 2 hearings, we were only going to have 1.
And when we talk about this Buddhist temple, what were some of the concerns of the neighbors?
The primary concern was basically traffic and the interruption in the peaceful enjoyment of their neighborhood. This is a very quiet, peaceful, quaint area of town. It's an area that looks like it's out in the country. There's very little street lights. It's an unimproved street, so there's no curves, and it's a very diverse neighborhood, and the neighbors get along well with one another. And so they just didn't want any interruption in that pattern of living.
What's next for this Buddhist temple?
What's next? Well, in 2 weeks, council will be voting on it and making a decision on whether or not to approve of the site plan. And so that's what's next.
900 Melanie Road, Toledo, Ohio, subject to certain conditions and a waiver declaring an emergency.
Councilman Riley.
I'll request first reading on this particular legislation. Last week we had an opportunity to hear some passionate presentation by members of that neighborhood and that community who were seeking to preserve and protect and maintain the integrity of the neighborhood. So basically what I'm asking is that we take time to review the presentations that were made, take into consideration the subject matter, and there's no need at this particular time to go to suspension on this particular matter or to not follow the procedures outlined in the charter.
All right, with that recommendation, what we'll do is we'll have a slow roll on suspension since Councilman Riley is calling first read. So if you vote yes, then you are voting to make it first read, correct, clerk? No, okay, so if you vote yes, you are going forward with the plan to pass this today. If you vote no, then we will go for a first read only. Correct. Okay. So, slow roll on suspension, please. Clerk, hold on, Councilwoman Harper. Does everybody understand? If you vote yes today, we are moving forward with the site plan of item 356. If you vote no, it is first read. Councilman Johnson.
My hope is that if this does go to a first read, while we are contemplating and studying and deciding on the issue, that the parties will get together once again and work with one another to try to make sure that they're embarking on a long-term relationship, that relationship can move forward and not hinder one another. So I just wanted to point that out. There is some time at this point if we do the first read. Thank you, Chair.
All right, so just so everybody knows, we vote yes, we're moving forward with the S&P. If we vote no, it's first read. Slow roll. Councilman Delaney.
Sorry to bring it so late. This legislation is an appeal, isn't it, of a site plan recommendation or no?
This is an approval of the site plan as approved by the City Plan Commission.
Okay.
There was an appeal that prompted the hearing last Wednesday and prompts final action by this council.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Spain.
So I think because there's been a lot of conversation, I would just like to clarify, the first vote will be
Just for
to go forward on suspension, and then there will be an additional vote for passage.
Correct.
Thank you. And an affirmative vote for passage is an affirmative vote for the site plan.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Winooski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, Mr. Clerk. But in reading the body of the attachment, what is the procedure then on the appeal? In other words, if 356-19 is passed, and this is, I ask this because I believe the parties need to move forward and want to know where they're going. So if we are passing 356-19, we are approving the site plan as approved by the Plan Commission with the appeals that restricts what they can use, how they can use the site, the limited use, which the Plan Commission did not approve.
That is correct. Okay. It does not include the appeal.
356-19 does not include the appeal.
Correct. It's only the site plan as approved by the City Plan Commission.
Can you briefly tell me then what is the procedure on the appeal? Why is it mentioned in 356-19?
You would have to, somebody would have to amend the conditions.
Well, so this
The word appeal is on the agenda summary because that's what prompted this to be on the agenda. It would not have been on the agenda if there was not an appeal.
Awesome. Thank you.
Councilman Riley.
Just briefly, I think that is some of the questions that have been asked is even more reason why we need to just go to first reading.
That's why we had the zoning and planning meeting to discuss all this, to get all that out.
And so it appears that there still remains some questions to be answered as well as that. So first reading is basically all we're asking is that we not suspend the charge. So the law is in place.
All right, seeing no other lights on. Again, if you vote yes, you are moving forward with this project. If you vote no, this ordinance will be a first read. So we will continue with slow roll on suspension.
Spain,
Yes.
Sykes,
No.
Uvagi,
Yes.
Winooski,
Yes.
Adams,
No.
Cherry,
Yes.
Delaney,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Comines,
Yes.
Ludeman,
Yes.
Riley,
No.
motion failed.
So that's first reading only on that ordinance.
All right, seeing no other advancements, I will now turn the agenda over to Councilwoman Spain.
Thank you, President Cherry. Clerk, please begin at the top of the agenda.
Yes, Councilmember Spain presents Resolution 317 recognizing Alliance Francaise for a $3,500 donation to help rebuild Notre Dame.
That will remain in the Committee of the Whole. I refer that to the Committee of the Whole. Thank you.
This is ordinance 336, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the University of Toledo, Toledo County Port Authority, and Park Smart for the installation of parking meters on Bancroft Street and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Spain, Sykes, Uvagi, Winooski, Adams, Cherry, Delaney, Harper, Johnson, Comines, Ludeman, Riley, motion carried.
Emergency.
Spain, Sykes, Uvagi, Winooski, Adams, Cherry, Delaney, Harper, Johnson, Comines, Ludeman, Riley, motion carried.
Passage.
Spain,
Yes.
Sykes,
No.
Uvagi,
Yes.
Winooski,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Cherry,
Yes.
Delaney,
Yes.
Harper,
No.
Johnson,
Yes.
Comines,
Yes.
Ludeman,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
ordinance passed.
Ordinance 337, temporarily amending the boundaries of the downtown outdoor refreshment area for the purpose of including access to Promenade Park to be within the downtown outdoor refreshment area, making certain findings and determinations with respect thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Spain, Sykes, Uvagi, Winooski, Adams, Cherry, Delaney, Harper, Johnson, Comines, Ludeman, Riley, motion carried.
Emergency.
Spain, Sykes, Uvagi, Winooski, Adams, Cherry, Delaney, Harper, Johnson, Comines, Ludeman, Riley, motion carried.
Passage.
Spain,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Uvagi, Winooski,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Cherry,
Yes.
Delaney,
Yes.
Harper,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.